Difference between task and process. The difference between process and task is the same as the difference between total and component. 2. Task is a unit of work and activity that usually performed by one person. 3. In contrast, the process is a group of related tasks that produce a valuable result from the customer's point of view. 4. Being process-oriented does not mean inventing processes in the organization. Rather, processes have always existed in the organization, and the organization's outcomes are the results of them, but they are not known and obvious. 5. Task-oriented managers will supervise and monitor, and process-oriented managers will coach and design. 6. Tasks are formed vertically in the organization, but processes are seen horizontal in the organizations. Figure 1. Difference between being task-oriented and process-oriented. Moving from a task-oriented organization to a process-oriented organization. A period of transition should be completed to move from a task-oriented to a process-oriented organization. This change does not happen suddenly. First, it needs to be identified, the organizations, processes and the processes owners. Then, in addition to expect accountability from process owners instead of unit managers, employees' salaries and performance should be measured based on the process. In the same way, we are gradually moving the organization in a direction where activities are based on the processes. Note following points to change the structure to process-oriented structure. Changing to a complete process-based structure is very difficult. Process-based structure responds to process changes much faster and better. We can first change the structure to a matrix-based structure and then move to the process structure. Figure 2. Transition from traditional structure to process-oriented structure. Characteristics of task-oriented and process-oriented organizations. In the following table, task-oriented and process-oriented organizations are compared based on some indicators. Criteria: director. Task-oriented: boss, chairman, and manager. Process-oriented: instructor, leader, and architect. Criterion: object. Task-oriented: manager satisfaction. Process-oriented: customer satisfaction. Criterion: work type. Task-oriented: individualism. Process-oriented: collectivism. Criterion: structure. Task-oriented: hierarchical. Process-oriented: team. Criterion: activity level. Task-oriented: uniform and constant. Process-oriented: variable. Criterion: organization. Task-oriented: task-oriented. Process-oriented: customer-oriented. Criterion: organizational relations. Task-oriented: vertical. Process-oriented: horizontal. Criterion: focus. Task-oriented: responsibility. Process-oriented: value. Criterion: work unit. Task-oriented: job. Process-oriented: role. Table 1. Comparison of being task-oriented and process-oriented. Does BPM lead to an integrated organization? Process integration is considered as the foundation of many improvement efforts. The process-oriented organization is integrating process continuously for a variety of re-engineering activities and optimizing necessary processes. Today, process integration as a key goal depends on the implementation of information technology such as enterprise resource planning, electronic data interchange, or the integration of organizational application resource. Organizations mainly have more than hundreds of different information systems, each created and set accordingly their business requirements. These systems may be parts of the customer systems outside the organization, such as end customers or suppliers of raw materials and components, local systems, or combination of these, each of which may have its own infrastructure and conditions. Following items can be achieved by creating integration. 1. Control and monitor the performance of organization based on strategy. 2. Business documents exchanges. 3. Internal communication of systems. 4. Integration with other business partners. This activity is done in 4 steps. Step 1. Recognize the current situation. This step explains the exact requirements of employer and his distance from it. Step 2. Analysis and pathology of current situation are some of the activities that are performed in this step. Step 3. Design the desired solution. After explaining the current situation, we need to design the desired situation and identify a path that leads us to achieve strategic goals and excellence. Step 4. Implementation. In the last step, the desired situation will be implemented with the help of modeling software such as visual paradigm, maps, communications, interactions, and the way of exchanging data and information will become clear with the help of these models. Does BPM have any effect on identifying organizational communications? While establishing business process management, two things are identified: the path that connects the input to output and activities that are performed in this path, the time of each activity, the person responsible for doing it, and their sequence are determined by establishing the business process management. That means it is determined that which work by which one and in which sequence will be done. In general, the following things can happen by establishing business process management: prevent duplication, eliminate extra and common activities between different units, determining the relationships between each unit inputs and outputs, determining the relationship between the output of one unit and the input of other units, determining the role of units, their sequence and their effect and outputs, determining the positions of units in the profitability of the organization compared to each other.